40 for Rateable Crest Titans.
Coming up in the show this week, we talk all things Rally North Wales as Paul brings you all of the action from the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship second round. But before that, we take a look at the opening round of the 2018 Fuchs British Historic Rally Championship. Last year's champion Jason Pritchard isn't here this season, meaning there will be a new champion, and with a high quality entry for this opening round, it really was going to be a tough battle for that win, both this weekend and in the season overall. On to the morning stages then, and it will be the lead for Nick Elliott and Dave Price. They start the day off as they mean to go on, missing out on the championship last year in such a close fight, and they would of course want to go one better this year. It had been 5 years since Ryan Barrett and Paul McCann had been out on the gravel, but it wasn't showing. They end the morning with second place, 14 seconds back from Elliott. Fresh from his win on the Roger Albert Clark rally at the end of last year, Marty McCormick will be back out in the Escort once again. But this would be the first time in the car since the end of that event, so it would take a few corners to get back into the swing of things. Last year's championship-winning co-driver Phil Clark was back alongside this season, and things were going well. Third place for now. Things started well for Steve Bennett and O'Shan Owen. They were driving well within their limits, not pushing things too much this morning, and it was paying off. Fourth place for now. Paul Barrett and Di Roberts returned to the championship this season and in a brand new car. Sadly, that would come with a few small teething problems, losing them some time, but nothing they couldn't manage in a service ready for a push this afternoon. They lead the way in the G2 class at this stage too. No problems for Alan Walker and John Connor. They had a good result on their return to the stages at the end of last season, and things were looking good here too. Sixth place at this stage. Simon Webster and Jez Rogers settled in well this morning. They felt the times could have been better, but were happy with 7th place to start, considering the time out of the car over the winter. James Slaughter and James Whittaker will be having some problems this morning. Bending the steering and spending some time in a ditch, they end the morning with 8th place overall, but felt it could have been a little higher without the problems. No problems for Stuart Egglestone and Brian Hodgson. They do their own thing over the morning stages and end stage 3 with the lead in the D3 class. A great start to the event for the pair. And rounding out the top 10 would be second place in that class, Josh Brown and Jane Edgington. Sadly, their good run would come to an end when they reached service, finding an earlier impact on the stages had damaged the sump guard and would force them to retire. So with the morning's 3 stages complete, it's the lead for Nick Elliott, but he wasn't having it all his own way here on the opening round of the championship. On to the afternoon stages then, and there would of course be change in the D3 class, as we expected. And that would see Rex Island and Adrian Scadding step up to take second place in that class at the finish. That will be due in part to the loss of Ben Friend and Cliffy Simmons. They sadly retire in the final stage when the engine went on the Escort. They wouldn't be the only ones though, as we also lose Ryan Barrett and Paul McCann when they break the diff on the car before passing our cameras. So that would shake up the class and overall results, and it would be Barry Stevenson Wheeler and John Pickervance who round out the top 10 at the end of the event. A good end to the opening round for the pair. For Phil and Mick Squires, it will be 9th place in the category. A good run for the pair, and of course an enjoyable one, smiling from start to finish, as always. There wouldn't be any change to the results for Stuart Eggleston and Brian Hodgson. They do a lot better than expected, ending the event with the D3 class win, as well as 8th place overall. James Slaughter and James Whittaker salvage the afternoon and take 7th place overall. Earlier problems had left them down the results, more than they would have wanted. Simon Webster and Jez Rogers would be one of the many struggling with the conditions in the afternoon stages. Slower times due to the slippery stages, but they end the day with 6th place in the category and 5th in the class. No problems for Alan Walker and John Connor. They have a good run on the opening round to take 5th place, proving that their pace at the end of last season wasn't a one-off. Steve Bennett and O'Shan Owen would be another to find the afternoon a lot more slippery than the morning. They kept it tidy though, and end the event with 4th place overall and 3rd in the D5 class. Things would go to plan for Paul Barrett and Di Roberts in the afternoon. Some good times, big commitment, and problems for others around them would see them take a great podium finish, 3rd overall, and just 2 seconds back from 2nd place. And in that 2nd place would be Marty McCormick and Phil Clark. They were still putting in good times as well as having fun along the way, but sadly their championship would be put on hold due to the next round clashing with Marty's British Rally Championship campaign in the Skoda. So that, of course, means it's the win for Nick Elliott and Dave Price this weekend. Round 1, maximum points for the pair, but they too couldn't make it to the next round, so that would leave the door open for someone else to take maximum points at round 2. So confirmation then of that win for Elliott and that close battle in the podium places behind. All eyes now will be on the next round, the Pirelli Rally, and who would come out there on top. Category 2 on the opening round of the Fuchs British Historic Rally Championship would be well represented, and it would be Adam Milner leading the crews away this weekend. He hadn't had the best of luck last season and would be looking to turn that around in 2018. And indeed, as the crews got the first stage of the event underway, it would be the lead in the category for Adam Milner and Roy Jarvis, clearly pushing hard out there, setting times that would in fact put them in the overall historic results amongst the Category 3 crews. Second place at this stage of the event would be Chris Skill and Tom Murphy. The pair would be leading the way in the C5 class with that result at this stage too. It would be a good start to the event for Barry Jordan and Paul Wakely, leading the way in the C3 class in that Avenger, 34 seconds back from Skill. Chris Brown and Ali Cornwell-Brown wouldn't be too happy with the times to start, blaming the early start and needing some time to wake up. But things were clearly not going too badly, 4th place overall in the category and 2nd in the class at this stage. 3rd in that class, and just behind Brown on the overall results too, would be Mark Holmes and Craig Simkis. The times were close in the class, just 6 seconds between them after 3 stages. Terry Cree and Richard Shaw's returned to the stages this year in the BMW, and driving as well as always, 2nd place in the class at the midpoint in the event, as well as 6th place in the category overall. For Robin Shuttleworth and Ronnie Roughhead, it would be 2nd place in the C2 class. There'd be no catching Adam Milner without him having problems, but they would be happy to lead the best of the rest in that class. They'd have around a minute advantage in that place too, with Dick Slaughter and Tim Sayer lying 3rd in that class for now, although that place wouldn't be safe just yet for the pair. It will be a time they had to share overall with Stuart and Linda Carris at this stage, equal on times after the morning's 3 stages, so the afternoon would all be to play for. And rounding out the top 10 in the category at this stage were Graham Patton and Pauline Hale. Sadly, that would come to an end, however, when they retire in service. So a reminder of the top of the results as we reach the midpoint in the event. Adam Milner's lead looking good, but could he keep it that way? On to the afternoon stages then, and it will be Stuart and Linda Carris who round out the top 10 in the category, taking 3rd place in the C2 class as well. For Dick Slaughter and Tim Sayer, it will be 9th, slipping back a place overall in the afternoon, but still a good finish for the pair, 4th place in the C3 class too. And it will be 3rd place in that class for Terry Cree and Richard Shaw's, getting the BMW to the end of the event with 8th place in the category overall as well. Robin Shuttleworth and Ronnie Roughhead would have a good weekend to take 2nd place in the C2 class at the finish, taking 7th place overall with that class result too. For Mike Simpson and Dale Gibbons, there'll be some good times in the afternoon to put them up to 6th place in the category at the end of the event, 6th place overall in the category. Sadly, Chris Brown and Ali Cornwell-Brown couldn't manage to keep hold of their place in the final stages, dropping back to 5th, but they had enjoyed every minute of the event and the result would still be a welcome one. A wrong tyre choice in the afternoon would also cost Barry Jordan and Paul Wakely a place overall, ending the day just off the podium in 4th place overall, but still taking the C3 class win. It will be a good jump up the results for Mark Holmes and Craig Simkis. A good push in the afternoon would see them taking the final step on the podium, as well as 2nd in their class. And beating them to that class win would be Chris Skill and Tom Murphy. A small clutch problem had been with them today, but they drove around the issues to take a well-deserved 2nd place overall and the class win. But taking the win this weekend and of course keeping it going to the finish would be Adam Milner and Roy Jarvis. They didn't have it easy and had a few moments along the way, but the victory would be well deserved. So confirmation of the final results in Category 2 here this weekend. Adam Milner happy with that victory, and the fights behind all very close here on the opening round. With the introduction of the new 2-wheel drive format this season, we'd see a renewed interest in Category 1, bringing a wealth of variety to the entry here at the opening round of the BHRC season. On to the opening stages, and it will be the lead for Bob Bean and Miles Cartwright. 14 seconds of an advantage in that number 1 position by the end of the morning stages. In that 2nd place at this stage were Bob Gibbons and David Nicholson. 2nd place in the category and in the class as the crews head back to the midday service, but sadly that will be where their event comes to an end. For Malcolm Rich and Arwell Blaney, it would be 3rd. They were just 6 seconds back from Gibbons in the class and overall, a great battle starting to take place already in the category. Ian Beveridge and Paul Price bring out the Volvo this season. A good start to the event for the pair, leading the way in the B4 class and lying 4th overall, probably one of the rarer cars out in the category this weekend. Ricky Profit and Graham Wild probably would have wanted to be a little bit higher up the results after the morning stages. They settle into 5th place overall in the category and lead in the B5 class. The times will be close in these places too, with Paul Mankin and Desmond Bell ending the morning just 3 seconds back from Profit. 2nd place in the B4 class for the pair after stage 3. And rounding out the finishes in this category this morning would be Ken Davies and Alan Jones. 7th place for the pair, as well as 3rd place in the class. Sadly, we do lose Desi Nutt and Geraldine McBride. They go off at the end of stage 1, having been in 4th place. So confirmation of the results then after the morning stages, a varied leaderboard already starting to show some good battles in the various classes and overall results. On to the afternoon stages then, and there'll be plenty of change in the category, but not for Ken Davies and Alan Jones, still rounding out the results, but now from 6th place overall. It would be a place the other way on the results for Ian Beveridge and Paul Price, 2nd place in the B4 class, and now lying in 5th place overall. Paul Mankin and Desmond Bell have a good run in the afternoon, managing to take 4th place overall and taking the B4 class win here at the opening round. Ricky Profit and Graham Wild would be much happier with the times in the afternoon, managing to move up to take the final step on the podium at the end of the event and of course the B5 class win. The retirement of Bob Gibbons in service meant that it would be a 2nd place finish this weekend for Malcolm Rich and Arwell Blaney. Certainly some time since we'd seen an Anglia out on gravel stages, especially with such a strong category finish. But that would of course mean the win this weekend goes to Bob Bean and Miles Cartwright. A good strong performance from the pair to take the win by a minute at the end of the event. A great start to the season for the Yorkshire pair. So confirmation then of the results at the end of the event and those maximum points in the category for Bob Bean. Next up, the crews head north for the Pirelli Rally. We'll be there to bring you all the action, but for now, stay tuned as Paul brings you the latest from the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship here on Special Stage.
Round 2 of the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship would see the crews head for Rally North Wales, and the event would be trialling a new format, meaning 4-wheel drive crews ran after the 2-wheel drives. But would that have an effect on the leaderboard? Well, let's head to the stages and see how this new format shakes things up. It would be the lead for Nick Elliott and Dave Price. It would be anyone's guess if that was down to pure speed or the favourable road conditions as a result. But it was certainly clear that the pair were trying. Ocean Price and Dale Furnish return for round 2 with a different car, swapping the R5 for a historic spec Escort. And it would be the first time out in such a car for the pair, clearly getting to grips with it early on and lying in 2nd place overall at this stage. Dylan Davies and Cleon Williams would be the first of the 4-wheel drive crews on the results after the opening stages. Running behind all of the 2-wheel drive cars meant the conditions would have changed significantly since our leading crews passed through the stage. 3rd place for now, leading the W13 class. And just outside the podium places would be another of our historic contenders. Alan Walker and John Connor taking 4th place for now, 37 seconds back from Davies on the overall leaderboard. It would be the lead in the N4 class for Paul Davey and Roger Allen. Meanwhile, they were probably a little further back on the results than usual, but still lying in a good overall position with 5th. No more big moments this time out for John Rowlands and Glenn Latham. Not in front of a camera anyway, but the driving style was still as exciting and outrageous as ever. They lie in 6th place for now, 4th in the class. And for the ever-happy Woolgutting, with Bob Stocko alongside as usual, it will be 2nd in the N4 class this morning. 17 seconds behind Rowlands at this stage, 19 behind the class leaders for now, 7th place on our leaderboard. And it would go down as a good start to the day for Matthew Hurst and Declan Deere. They will be leading the way in the Ravenel Challenge as well so far, and lying 2nd in the W13 class as well with 8th place. Just behind them on the results would be Howell Davies and Clive Jones. They lead the way in the W5 class, but sadly they retire in service, meaning another shake-up to the results as soon as the crews start the afternoon stages. And rounding out the top 10 for now would be Andy Williams and Andy Darlington. third place in the W13 class, and they'd actually share that time with another crew, but take 10th at this stage on a faster Stage 1 time. Sadly for the spectators, that entry list wouldn't end up as big as it started. We lose Andy Davies and Max Freeman, the turbo failing on the car in the second stage of the day. And we also lose Ian Rowlands and Emir Hall, the distributor failing on the Avenger in the opening stage. How often do we hear of distributor caps failing these days? And for Gareth Edwards and Dylan Andrew, it would be, well, a number of things. Causing trouble for them, losing the intercom on the opening stage resulting to hand signals was not an ideal way to start. But it would get worse, eventually retiring on the third stage of the day, the gearbox taking away all but fifth gear. Bit of a Days of Thunder moment for the pair. Thankfully though, a good time on stage 2 means that they're taking plenty of positives from the event. Let's take a look then at some of the positions outside of our top 10 leaderboard. And it would be 11th for Max Utting and Mike Ainsworth, sharing that overall time with Andy Williams in 10th place. So it was all to play for now. The battle in the afternoon would surely be one for the spectators to enjoy, and you at home as well. And Alan Roberts and Alan Edwards make a great start in the W4 class, taking the lead there and clearly pushing that car well. They were just a single second back from Roberts in the overall times as well. Things really close here at the Rally North Wales. Colin Griffiths and Tom Bishop will be driving that BMW sideways as always. Quickly as well, leading the way in the W12 class at this stage, 15th place on the leaderboard, and perhaps showing that old saying that sideways isn't always quickest, isn't always correct. Just the two cars in the N3 class this weekend, so it would be Calvin Green and Tom Wood leading the way. The times in the class quite close though, 3 stages down, all to play for in the afternoon. Perry Gardner and Keaton Williams would be the only ones in the W2 class, but the attrition that we've seen so far means that endurance itself can be quite the challenge. They were pushing the Little Nova well on the stages with this in mind, not having to worry about a class result this weekend, but with their eyes on that overall leaderboard, and why not? For Ron Hall and Phil Spilstead, meanwhile, it will be third place in the N4 class. Not quite in a fight with those up ahead in the class, but having a good, enjoyable and productive run so far. So we're midway through Rally North Wales then, a two-wheel drive dominated leaderboard. Perhaps the new format changing things around for the better as far as the spectators are concerned. It certainly turned things on their head. But would that change through the afternoon stages? Onto the afternoon stages then, and there would be no change to the overall result in Class N4 for Ron Hall and Phil Spilstead taking third place. Ken Davies and Alan Jones make a move up 1 place through the afternoon, taking third in the W5 class, as well as moving up the overall leaderboard too. And for Steve Dealey and Alan Proudman, it would be a place gained, third place in W4 this weekend, moving up to 25th on the leaderboard. There's no change for these guys, Graham Palmer and Mike Webb remaining second in the class and in 23rd overall to the finish. For Martin Walters and Marie Fletcher, it will be much the same as well. Second in the W4 class was theirs, the pair finishing with 21st overall. Now this car had been on full tilt throughout the day. They may not have been fighting for that class win, but it wasn't stopping Perry Gardner and Keaton Williams pushing hard right through the rally. They of course take the class, being the only ones there, but they also take some brownie points from the spectators as well, finishing the day with 20th overall. For Alexander Howard and George Fleming, it will be moved the right way on the leaderboard in the afternoon, taking third in W13, as well as finishing 22nd overall. David Jones and Glyn Price gaining some places on the leaderboard. The class result would stay the same, bringing it home third in the W12 class, 18th overall. No change to the usually hard-fought N3 class though. Rydian Price and Simon Jones having to settle for second place. The gap opening up slightly, but they do remain just behind on the overall results. Which, of course, the eagle-eyed of you have already spotted this, means it would be victory in the N3 class for Calvin Green and Tom Wood, taking that class victory as well as 16th place overall in the Fiesta. No change to that class result that they'd fought so hard for throughout the day for Andrew and Jamie Lee Fox. Second in the W12 class was still theirs, but they do gain some overall positions, ending the rally with 15th place. No change for Colin Griffiths and Tom Bishop though. They remain in the lead of the class to the finish, taking victory as well as third in the Ravenel Challenge results this weekend. The attrition continues into the afternoon stages though. We lose Andy Williams and Andy Darlington, retiring in the fourth stage of the day, meaning a few changes to our top 10 as you'd imagine. So let's go on to that top 10 leaderboard at the end of the day then, and it would be David Lloyd Robertson Di Jones taking that 10th spot at the finish, up 2 places on the overall results and taking the W5 class victory, as well as second in the Ravenel Challenge. It would be a great weekend though for Alan Roberts and Aled Edwards, taking the W4 class victory, as well as moving up 4 places on the leaderboard to take 9th place. There's frustration among our top 10 contenders though. A few issues for Paul Davey and Roger Allen mean that they drop down the overall results down to 8th. They of course miss out on the N4 class victory as a result, having to settle for 2nd in the class. So that would mean class victory going to Woogutting and Bob Stocko. A good result for the pair after a solid drive in the class and taking 7th place on the leaderboard too. It was also a great end to the rally for Matthew Hurst and Declan Deere, ending with 6th place overall, 2nd in W13, a result that also gives them the Ravenel Challenge win, maintaining their early lead in the Ravenel Challenge for the season as well. It will be a place lost on the results for Alan Walker and John Connor though. The result's still a good one, 5th overall for the Escort pair, but try telling a rally driver who's lost a place in the afternoon stages that is still a good result. John Rowlands and Glenn Latham, though, would be happy with their day, gaining some time in the afternoon and taking 3rd in the W6 class this weekend, ending the rally just outside our podium places with 4th. So we move on to our podium places then at a pretty hard-fought Rally North Wales, and it would be 3rd place for Ocean Price and Dale Furness. An impressive debut in an Escort. They do drop down the results slightly, but this finish would see the pair maintaining their lead in the championship overall after round 2. Dylan Davies and Cleon Williams moved the right way up the results in the afternoon stages, taking the W13 class victory as well as 2nd overall, a position reflected in the overall championship leaderboard standings after this round. But for this weekend, it would be victory for this man, Nick Elliott, Dave Price on the notes. The pair not out on the opening round of the series, but this weekend's result would put them firmly and squarely back in the fight, seeing them 6th in the championship overall standings. So confirmation then of the results this weekend. A great result in the historic debut for Ocean Price, seeing him maintain that championship advantage. Next up, the crews head to the Rally Nuts stages in a few weeks' time, and we will of course be there to bring you all of the action. Next time on Special Stage, we take a look back to November and the Roger Albert Clark Rally. In the meantime, head to our social media for more content and to catch up on any of our coverage and behind the scenes content. Thank you for watching Special Stage.